We've got our very own student, Summer Cameron, who's in her last year in United World College's Maastricht. And today she will be talking about identity and how it defines ourselves in the face of societal pressures and expectations. Please welcome Summer on the stage.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. So, first, I want to start off by introducing myself. So, my name is Summer Cameron, and I was born in the United States, and I was raised specifically in Seattle, Washington. And I want to take you back to my old high school. At my high school, I was an officer for the Asian American Pacific Islander Club, or APIC for short. A club dedicated to celebrating cultures, sharing traditions, and creating a space where students could embrace their background or learn about somebody else's. We held bi-weekly meetings, each designed to highlight a different part of API heritage. I vividly remember one time that I had worked so hard to prepare a meeting, a celebration of Chuseok, a Korean harvest festival similar to that of Thanksgiving. I had prepared a presentation, I had bought my favorite traditional sweets, and most importantly, I had worked to create a space that felt inviting. I was excited to share, excited to teach, and excited to connect. But when the day came, this is what the classroom looked like. It was empty. I wondered to myself, how could it be that with a school body of over 2,000 students, that nobody seemed to care or simply be interested? As a last-ditch effort, I made an announcement that there would be free food and snacks, and this is how many people walked into the classroom. 2 more. Somehow, I had managed to capture only about 0.1% of my school body population. And that moment made me think about something that I had always felt but never quite been able to put into words. On paper, my school was diverse. Students came from different racial, cultural, and socioeconomic backgrounds. My classrooms were full of people with names and faces from all over the world, and growing up we were taught to be culturally aware and to respect our differences. But in reality, everyone tried to fit into the same mold. It wasn't that we didn't have different cultures, it was just that we didn't embrace them. And that led me to the unsettling contradiction that was, how could a school that was so diverse not actually be? This moment led me to question the way that we often try to simplify things down to make it easier for ourselves, avoiding contradictions rather than embracing them. We as humans naturally like to seek certainty, whether that's good versus bad, right versus wrong, us versus them, or even through emotions. Growing up, we're taught that you can only be happy or sad, nervous or excited, confident or insecure. But in reality, we can actually be all those things at once. But we simplify things because it feels safe. But by doing so, we actually limit ourselves. At my old school, I felt like I was at a standstill. I wanted a space where people didn't feel the needs to shrink themselves to fit in. So I went looking for it where any normal teenager would, on a favorite platform, TikTok. And on a whim, I stumbled across a video made by a fellow United World College Adriatic student, who also happened to be American, documenting her experience. She described a boarding school where students from over 80 nationalities didn't just coexist, but they celebrated and embraced their cultures. And so I sent in my UWC application. One thing led to the next, and I had gotten through the first round, the second round, the third, and before I knew it, I got a call. I was headed halfway across the world to UWC-Maastricht. This is my flag tunnel, my first day. On my first day at UWC, I was welcomed into a new place, a new home, a new room with new roommates. A Ghanaian, a Ukrainian, and a Norwegian. These girls, over time, went from strangers to becoming just like my sisters. But that didn't happen just through the deep late-night talks, but instead it happened through the small and everyday things. Whether that was through sharing meals, laughing about the strange ways that we did laundry, sharing music tastes, or making fun of the fact that I had never learned how to iron. Every day, just by being around them, I learned something new. Sometimes, I will admit, our opinions clashed, but above anything else, we listened. Our dialogue wasn't just a place to learn new facts, but instead it became a space to unlearn old assumptions. Then, one night, our school hosted what they call Earth Hour. Earth Hour was a sustainability initiative where the power and electricity gets cut off. And to put it frankly, that night I was having a bad day. I was locked out of my room. I had no Wi-Fi. I had an assignment due the next day, and my phone was about to die. So, frustrated, I complained. And my Ghanaian roommate simply looked at me and giggled and said, "Summer, you do realize you're privileged right now, right? Back home, this is normal for us." And her words really struck me. I thought I had been aware of such issues in other countries. But that moment made me realize something, that awareness and experience are not the same thing. It's one thing to learn about a reality, and it's another to share a space with someone who has lived it. And this was just one of many, many moments. Time and time again, over and over, whether that was through conversations over meal times or simple chats with my classmates, I started to realize how much I actually didn't know. And this leads me to the saying, the more you learn, the less you know. And I think that this saying encapsulates what it is like to live and learn at a United World College. This seemingly impossible sounding contradiction is known as the knowledge paradox, and it can be described in a very simple way. So this circle here is your knowledge, with everything inside the circle is what you know. Then, then the edge of the circle is called the boundary. And in between is the known, and then the boundary is close to the unknown. And so, when you learn more knowledge and you learn more, your circle actually expands, and thus the boundary between the unknown also expands. So, in other words, the more knowledge that you gain, the more that you become aware of how much is still out there to discover. And that's what UWC did for me. It made my circle bigger. Beyond just learning, what I truly came to understand at UWC is the importance of contradictions. It's easy to dismiss things that we don't understand and to see the world in binaries. It's easy to label outsiders as other and not seek to understand them. But the world isn't just about black and white or us versus thems, but it's the gray space in between where the real learning actually happens. Whether it was standing in front of that empty classroom, having my worldview challenged by a simple conversation, or realizing my privilege through a power outage, these moments were uncomfortable, and I'll admit that. But they were also the moments that I grew the most in, and that have made me the person that I am today. And so, this isn't just my story, but instead I want to challenge you. I challenge you to be that person that goes to that empty classroom. I challenge you to be the person that understands that in the unknown is where we grow the most. And most importantly, I want to challenge you to become somebody that learns to love the contradictions just as much as I do. Thank you.